Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All praises to Allah and salawat and salutations to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and honorable judges, it is with great pleasure that I, Raziq Musyaffa Zuhayr, am standing here in front of all of you today and be able to share my speech with all of you. I am also very honored to be able to represent my school, SMPIT Thariq bin Ziyad, in this competition. Now, before we begin, I want to ask all of you a few questions. What's the purpose of the Quran? What does it do? Why should we read it? And why are there so many crimes and issues within our country? Have you ever wondered? Don't you want to know why? Well, rest assured, because all of those questions will be answered as we move on through my speech. Now, without further ado, I invite all of you to listen to my speech titled, The Quran, Destiny and Impacts. Fellow listeners, did you know, according to the Indonesian Ministry of Communication and Informatics, out of 2.7 million people who are caught in a series of online gambling activities, 11% of them are people who are aged 11 until 20 years old, meaning that most of the people who are in this 11% are still in middle school or high school, or in other words, teenagers. And acquired from the TCSC, the Tobacco Control Support Center, 69% of Indonesia's teenagers have become active smokers, and not to mention the number of cases surrounding these specific demographics, such as, and I quote, 2 students suspected of a murder of a student in Sukabumi. Now, all of those examples that I just told you earlier are just few of the many issues that plagues the teens of Indonesia. So all of you might be asking, why? Why are there so many of these obvious and clear violations of our norms and laws committed by these teenagers? Well, let me explain it to you. There are certainly a lot of factors contributing to it, such as neglectful parents, bad social environments, but most importantly, it is the lack of education, as well as the lack of guidance in their lives, and that's where our help comes in. The Quran first descended on the night of 17 Ramadan 610 at the cave of Hira. The Quran, by definition, is the central religious textbooks of our religion, Islam, or in other terms, the Word of God. The Quran has many purposes for us, such as a way to connect with God, but most importantly, it is to guide us through our daily lives. Now, I want all of you, ladies and gentlemen, to take a moment and imagine. Imagine a world where everyone lives without some kind of guidance or some sort. It would be chaos, an absolute living hell, right? Well, just like I told you earlier, a lot of the teens here in Indonesia are actively violating our norms and laws, and all of that happens because of the absence of guidance in their lives. And that missing part of them that causes them to do that is the one and only the Quran. Now, as a 13-year-old Gen Zers in middle school, I was actually pretty lucky because I was taught about the Quran since I was a little kid, so I automatically have it as part of my life already. But imagine all of those other teens who weren't so lucky as me, those who grew up without the Quran as their guidance, and as a result, succumbed to a life of crime. And that is why the Quran is here, to guide us through our daily lives, to teach us, to guide us on how we live our life, how we say, how we act, but most importantly, how we enjoy our lives. And that's not all, ladies and gentlemen. The Quran has another purpose for us, and that is to educate us through its countless of knowledge, ranging from Islamic history, prayers, laws, but most importantly, scientific knowledge. Now, the Quran doesn't have all the scientific knowledge that we found out over the past history, but the Quran still has a few scientific knowledge that will still definitely blow your mind, I assure you. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the Quran, even though it's over 1,000 years old, it has a few scientific knowledge that we only discovered centuries ago. Surprising, isn't it? Even I was surprised as well. For example, the Big Bang Theory, a theory that describes how our universe was expanded from an initial high state of temperature and density that was first founded in 1931. Well, guess what? The Quran explained it first. In Surah Al-Anbiya, verse 30, and I quote, "Have those who disbelieve not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joint entity, and we separated them and made from water every living thing? Then will they not believe?" And it's not just the Big Bang. The Quran has another verse about the two seas that collide with each other but don't mix, and one that describes the development of embryos. Amazing, isn't it? How fascinating. That's the power of the Quran. In conclusion, it is the Quran's purpose to guide us through our daily lives and educate us, and so that is why I encourage to all of you listeners, as well as the teens of Indonesia, to read the Quran, as through its wise and divine words, you will be guided to a life filled with happiness, prosperity, and success, and be strayed away from the path of darkness that is a life of misery and crimes. And through its handful of knowledge, you will be showed upon a more vast and new world of knowledge than you could ever imagine, and be set to a life of success. Whether you seek knowledge or guidance, the Quran has something for us all. So let it be our compass through life, for the sake for our children, our grandchildren, for the sake for our generations and generations who have yet to come, for the sake for our futures. And as for my few final words of this speech, I only have this to say: if you're lost in the dark, look for the light that shines from the Quran. That is all from me. Thank you very much, especially to all of you fine judges who have listened to me from the very start until now. I hope my speech will inspire the teen of Indonesia to read the Quran and someday lead our nation into glory someday in the future. Thank you all once again. That is all from me, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.